So I welcome you all once again. I'm going to be calling on the Vice President to introduce what we're going to be doing today and to shed more light on what we're going to be doing today. Please, Naomi, can you take over?
Thank you, Simon. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the fourth edition of the Japa series, the Australian version. I think I want to commend everyone who has been here from the beginning. We had the UK pathway, the US pathway. Last week we had the Canada pathway, and today we are having the Australia pathway. And gradually we are getting closer to the end of the Japa series. So well done, everyone. I hope that this series has been very enlightening for you. I hope you've been able to gather knowledge. I hope that in case you plan to Japa, this is not advocating for you to Japa, but I'm an advocate for having concrete knowledge on everything that you can have, knowledge or information about. So the things you are learning on this series is, even if you're not going to Australia tomorrow, if you meet someone who wants to go to Australia, you should be able to at least point them in the right direction or give them information on how they can get started. So this isn't just for you. I mean, it is also so that, you are not completely in the dark about migrating from Nigeria as a medical doctor. I have attended all versions or all editions of the Japa series, and honestly, it has been so enlightening for me. And I believe that this edition is not going to be any different from the previous ones we've had. We have very enlightening speakers. We have people who trained in Nigeria like you and I, and who have successfully migrated to Australia. They are here to speak with us today. One of them even, has been doing this for a while. That is teaching people how to migrate from Nigeria to Australia as medical doctors for a while. So you can be sure that she has all the right information that you are going to need on the exams you might need to take, the cost implication of the pathway, and then why should you even consider Australia? Why should it be on, the map for you or I? So I want everyone to just, sit back and relax and, have a pen and paper so that you can jot down a few things. You might not have this opportunity again to have someone, just come out and spell out all the steps for you free of charge. So make sure you, take down a few important things. The replay of it is going to be up on the YouTube channel, but there's nothing as much as, listening to it live. If you're like me, whenever you're watching replays, it's never really the same thing. So I would say, try and stay on board, stay with us, and make sure that you are following the entire pathway. So for the emigrating out of Nigeria part of the Japa series, this is going to be the last version or last edition that we're going to be having. So once again, thank you so much for coming on this ride with us. The last and final part of the Japa series is going to be, how to succeed in residency in Nigeria. So we're going to be taking a break from telling you guys how to run away from the country and telling you how best to utilize staying back in our country. We're also going to have a feedback evaluation form out. It's going to be on the group chat, on the general group chat. And please, I would like to implore every single person who attended, even if you didn't attend all versions of the Japa series, even if it was just one pathway you attended, even if this is your first pathway that you're attending, please, when we send out the link for the feedback evaluation form, please try and fill it. We aim to do better going forward in the webinars we are going to have and in the different series that we're going to have from the Office of the Vice President External Affairs. So we would like you guys to, give us your feedback, to evaluate the sessions. Let us know if it was productive enough for you. Okay, so I wouldn't want to keep our speakers waiting for too long. Thank you once again to our amazing speakers. I honestly cannot wait because I don't know anything about going to Australia. So I really cannot wait to learn from you. And thank you once again for honoring our invitation. Okay, Simon, back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Naomi. Our first speaker is Dr. Toluwanimi Joel Ajayi Majebi, and she's an alumni of University of Lagos. She has been involved in various administrative and leadership roles in different organizations, pre and post her graduation from medical school. She's a motivated, compassionate, and clinically competent medical doctor who believes in an honest approach towards her duties and is presently a resident doctor at a hospital in Australia. She runs an organization that provides adequate information for those interested in immigrating to Australia. So she's the perfect person for this webinar. And I hope we'll all learn a lot from her. I hope we'll pay attention completely when she's talking. Let's limit distractions and carry out our notepads and pens to jot down all the details that she's going to be giving us. Dr. Toluwani, please, are you on the call? Okay, so I don't think our speakers are on the call yet. I don't know, maybe there's a little problem on their side. So the second speaker is Dr. Mark B. Weng. He's an alumni of University of Jos. He's an internal medicine fellow at Goulburn Valley Health Hospital in Australia. He has a lot of certificates in pediatric advanced life support. He supports businesses. He has a certificate in professional business writing and communication skills at Hastings Business Training Limited. During his free time, he volunteers as an emergency doctor, volunteering to provide medical care for vulnerable victims at the Internet Displaced Persons Camp. He has research projects on various topics, all medically inclined, of course, and we look forward to listening to him. And he's not yet online, so I think we'll have to wait a bit for our speakers. Okay, well, while we're waiting for the speakers, I think we can engage ourselves in things we know about Australia. So you can send messages in the chat box about what you know about Australia and what you hope to learn. So when the speakers come, they'll just carry it over from there and talk about the things we most want to learn. So please, you can engage. Sorry for the delay. Our speakers are having a bit. Okay, we're so sorry for the delay. So our first speaker, Dr. Toluwani Midwell, is finally on the call. So she'll be taking the first part of the Japa series pathway, the Australia pathway, of course. So we're so glad to have you, Ma.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Ma.
Sorry, good evening. So sorry. Zoom asked me to verify my account and that took longer than they asked me to do that. It's been a while since I've used Zoom, so I'm sorry, really sorry about the 5-minute delay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I didn't hear anything before now because I was not on. But I'm doing everything. Okay.
Okay, sorry, Ma. I can give a recap of what happened. It was just we introduced the pathway. We told the attendees that it's going to be on Australia Japa pathway. We introduced you and said you're passionate about educating people on how to immigrate. We just said people should bring out their notepads and get ready for what you're going to be telling us on how to leave the country for our practice. So that's basically what we said.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for the welcome. Australia pathway, there's a couple of things. I'm just going to dive into it. First of all, Australia is a very multicultural country. Just because there's a lot of people who've migrated from like all of a lot of places in the world. The in the multicultural aspect, there are way more Asians and people from the Asian community because obviously they're close to Australia. So that's, you would say a lot of your colleagues at work as a doctor would be from the Asian community, apart from the Australians themselves. The First Nations people, the people who were first in this land before other people came to settle in, will be a community which you would also have to become very familiar with. But aside from that, Australia is both a country and a continent, and a couple of states. I'm not going to go into that, but it's quite massive, which means that there is a lot of there are a lot of opportunities for people to come and practice here because they're still developing a lot of lands and they need a lot of doctors, obviously. I mean, with every settlement, they need more doctors. So coming from Nigeria, so brief about me, I schooled in Lagos. I schooled in University of Lagos, Luth. That's where I completed my medical school. Proudly Akoka, proudly same Yale, proudly Lagos graduate. And following that, I moved over to Australia. I think after my house job, thereabouts, I moved over to Australia. And one of the things I heard was that, oh, it's so hard, it's impossible. In fact, someone told me, said, why would you even consider Australia of all places? Because it's so hard to get in. And they mentioned like people that I respect that had tried and didn't get in. And they're like, well, don't do it. Well, at that point, I had no choice for personal reasons. So I'm like, well, okay, I'm going. Whatever happens, happens. Maybe I'll go into academia or something. So I moved here, and I didn't have a lot of advice. Well, my first memory of, and I'm sort of saying this in this way so that it becomes relatable. I can give you an outline of, oh, do this, do this, do this. But if I tell you my story, then you can relate to it. I guess. I don't know if that's okay. All right. Anyway, let's continue. So I moved here and I didn't have a lot of advice. I didn't have a lot of people to like tell me what to do or, you know, explain anything to me. And that was hard. The first time I remember ever Googling anything about Australia, like, oh, I was in Luth during a house job and I was with one of my colleagues and we were like, oh, Australia would be a good idea and everything. And we both Googled it, we looked at the website and we looked at the requirements. I'm like, oh, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And we're also gingered. And I was thinking about it recently that this person is, she didn't come to Australia, obviously. I'm the one of the two of us that came here. And like the difference between then and now, how it looked like, oh my God, this was an impossible task. Like no one knew anything about it. So anyway, I came and I started fishing around for information. The first time I came was a visit. So I went around, asked people around. There was a lot of, maybe go to the UK, you know, don't come here directly. And there was a lot of other comments as well, which are not exactly the kind of things I wanted to hear at that point, because I needed to to be here. Anyway, long story short is I found out information. I started attending like courses to prepare for the exams and all that. Now, at this point, I'll just quickly run through this. There are 2 exams to come to Australia to get your full license in Australia. One of them is an MCQ exam, basically multiple choice question exam. The second one is an OSCE. I'm sure all of us are used to OSCE. I mean, in Luth especially, we did OSCE, so second one is an OSCE. But the thing with Australia is you only need to pass the first one to practice as a doctor here. You practice with something called limited registration. And then when you pass the second part of the exam, you get a full registration, or you do something called a WEB, which is work-based assessment, which you can also use to get your full license. But as for practicing as a doctor, you only need to write the first part of the exam. So anyway, I didn't even know all this then. I prepared for the first one and I wrote it, I think I wrote it in 2021. Probably messed a lot of my plans up and everything. I wrote it in 2021 and excuse me. And then I passed it. And then the question was, okay, what next? You know, how do I get a job? Because obviously writing the exam, passing it was great news, but the point was for me to get a job. So how do I get a job? And I started trying to ask around and everything. Honestly, I didn't find a lot of support, which wasn't great, in my opinion. I wished then, and I wish I had a lot of support, but I didn't. So I had to learn a lot by, you know, finding out information by myself and, you know, going to all sorts of places. Basically, eventually in 2022, last year, I got a job. That's not the story for today. But basically, this is me here. I've been practicing in Australia for a while now and for a few months now, and I'm very glad. What I started doing sometime last year was I started then helping people who I knew wanted to come to Australia to come. And so far, I know one person came directly from Nigeria. She got 3 jobs from Nigeria to work in Australia. The other person came from the UK. Well, he wasn't practicing in the UK, but he didn't write PLAB or anything. He just came from the UK and he's practicing. He just got a job as well here. And there are other people who've come here, written exams. Like all these people I'm mentioning, they're all Nigerians, written exams and they've passed and they're all, you know, they're looking for jobs or practicing already. So it's definitely possible. That's a bit of my story. And, you know, the people are working with other people that wanted to come here. The first exam, which is an MCQ exam, I don't believe it's a hard exam. The truth is, it's an exam that is very specific, meaning for the exam, you've got to be very deliberate about reading for the exam. So the way we are taught back home is a bit different from the way they are taught here. And the things they emphasize are obviously different because it's a different healthcare system. And that's important to know. in preparing for this exam. So when you prepare for this exam, you need to pay attention to the things that are specific for this exam. One of the things I do when I support people is I try to give you the guidance of study like this, focus on this, do this, instead of the typical way we were taught in medical school back in Nigeria. So that's for the first exam. The cost of the first exam, I think was just revised recently. It's about 3,000 something, if I'm not if I'm correct. It used to be 2007 something then dollars, Australian dollars. I'm not sure what the rate is right now, but now they just increased it a bit. It's about 3,000 something. That's for the first exam. The second exam is almost about in the region of 4,000. But like I said, you only need to pass the first one to actually get a job here. Of course, because if you write both, you get a higher chance of getting a job and you get your general registration. After you pass your first exam, you get a job. Everybody that didn't study here has to work for 12 months supervised practice before you get full registration. What your full registration means is if you are thinking of residency, or doing something else, you've got to get your full registration before you can avail. Of course, when you get your first job, you have to stay in that hospital, work there until you get your full registration, unless you move to another hospital who is happy to supervise you until you get your full registration. There'll be time for questions, so I'm sure I should be able to explain all these things if there are any particular questions. But yeah, so that's for the first exam. So if you write the first and second one, you still also have to work for 12 months supervised. So it doesn't really matter, whether you write the first or second one, I don't want to be supervised. You have to be supervised for 12 months either way. If you've written the second one and you get a job, work for 12 months, then you're eligible for a full registration. And then from there, you start your residency. You start trying to get on the training program. Residency is a bit of a different story here. You have to get on the training program. So you can work as a registrar, you can work as you can be in the residency setting, learning all the things you want to learn in your specific field. But for you to be on the particular training program, you have to get on the training program. You have to apply to the college that offers the training that you want, and then you get on that program. The second exam, like I said, is an OSCE. Basically, it's an OSCE. I think many of us are used to OSCE, so I won't say much about that. It's an OSCE. It's a performance exam. It's an exam that you have to know the key criteria they are looking for, and when you get the criteria that they're looking for, then you sort of practice. There's a lot of physical examination aspect of it, which shouldn't be an issue for us as well, I think. All right, I think that is really much a summary of what I wanted to say. I think we should start with questions, but I feel like I'll say more if I am asked questions, specific questions, if that's all right. Hello?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tolu, for that. I think the first question I'll ask is, for each of the exams, what kind of material would you say we should use as a study guide? Because, like, for example, last week at the Canada Pathway, they told us we could use the USMLE UWorld to practice for the Canada exam. So what material would you say we can use to prepare ourselves for the MCQ exams for Australia and also the OSCE?
This meeting is being recorded, right?
It's being shared live on YouTube. We're not recording it to Zoom.
Okay, but it's going to be shared. Okay. So in that case, I'll say this. First of all, you need to know that the AMC does not release its questions. It's illegal to take its questions out of the exam hall. And they don't release the questions. But as for materials to study, I don't know of anyone studying things like UWorld or things like that. No. AMC is a very easy exam. Everyone that has ever written this exam eventually comes back to say, oh my God, the exam is easy. The exam is easy because you know what to do. It is just very specific. So when I advise people to get on, like, want to come to Australia, I tell them there are things called guidelines. Australia has a lot of guidelines and they are available online. you search for them. So for example, you search for them based on the topics. As for the topic list, I actually have a compilation of the topic list personally, because I made a compilation, which is what I do when people get on my program. I give them the topic list. These are the topics you need to focus on. You must know these topics. There's some books that I share as well, some e-copy books that I share as well that you need to, focus on as well. And there are some like practice questions, just like, because they have AMC has a book. AMC has a handbook for both the MCQ and both the clinical, the OSCE one. So you practice those questions to help you sort of get a sense of the exam. So that's part of the support I provide if you ever are interested, you can message me on LinkedIn. That's the best way to reach me, I think. Anyway, so those are the things you read. So the guidelines, you search them online. They're pretty much just Google search, hey, I'm looking for this, search it online, and then read the topic based on the guidelines. It's a very in-depth process that I explain to people like one-on-one when we talk and everything. I don't know if I'll be able to go into total details about it, but there are specific things to read. No, you cannot use UWorld. UWorld exam is not the same thing as the Australian exam. You can't use that one to. There are many online AMC, because the name of the exam is the Australian Medical Council exams. There are many online AMC Q banks, but honestly, I don't believe in them. And the reasons I will explain on a more private conversation, if that makes sense, because this is being shared publicly.
Okay, thank you, Ma.
I don't know if that's sort of, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, Ma, thank you. There are some questions in the chat box. The first question is there a matching system for residency like it is in the US?
No, it doesn't work like that. From my understanding of the residency, so like I said, the first thing you need to do as an IMGs are international medical graduates. The first thing you need to do as an IMG is, first of all, obviously pass your exams, get a job. You cannot get a license without, even if you pass your exams, you cannot get a license without getting a job. So get a job, and then when you are working, whether you've written AMC 1 or 2, or you're doing the WBA program, which I mentioned earlier, get your general registration. That's after your 12 months of supervised practice. Once you've gotten your general registration, then you now decide, for example, I want to do general medicine. There's a unit, there's a department, there's a training called general medicine. I want to do general medicine, for example. Then you now look at the college that provides, training for general medicine, and look at the requirements. Usually they would want you to have done certain rotations, which you can get. So what people do is you look at, you have general reg now. This is after general registration. Remember, I said before general registration, you can't be thinking any of this. When you've gotten general registration, then you now look at, okay, fine, I want to do general medicine. Then you now go to the website of the training body of the college, and then you'd find what their requirements are. Usually it is, you have to have done a general medicine year called a BPT year, basic physician training. That's what BPT means. This is specific for general medicine, remember. And even for other medical, if you don't want to do general medicine, you want to do like specialist medicine, medical things like renal, endocrinology, and all that. So you need to do a BPT year, basically a year where you're running through different general medicine rotations and different medical rotations. And after you do that, that's like one of the requirements. Then you now go to the body, okay, I've done this, I have experience in this, in this, and this, and this. I'd like to get on the training pathway. And that's when you then apply to the training pathway. It's not a match. It's literally an application, and they will accept you. When they accept you, you're on the training pathway. But the thing is that to get on the training pathway, they usually have requirements. The focus after your general reg is those requirements. Does that make sense? So the focus is not, I want to get on the training pathway, because the training pathway will have requirements. You can't get on the training pathway without those requirements. And they are just work. You're working as a doctor. You just have to do those things. So I would say it's more of like your junior reg era. You understand, something like that? It's more of the junior reg era. And then you do all those, your requirements. And then once you get on the training pathway, you've gotten your requirements, then you become something like a senior reg, and then you finish your residency training. Does that make sense? So not a matching system.
Okay, thank you, Ma.
I think that answered the question. I don't know who asked the question. Yeah.
Okay, and Better Ukiji, does that answer your question? Sorry,
You
Better,
can
I
ask
still on.
you now. Oh, I need to mention something now, by the way, now that we're talking about training. So there are
Okay.
two pathways people usually take in Australia. People either go work in the hospital and become like they want to go become consultants in their fields, in specialist fields, or they go to the GP pathway. The GP pathway is totally different. Totally different pathway in the GP pathway. Basically, if you are going directly as an AMG, you have to write something called PESCI after your AMC. So if you write AMC, you have to write PESCI. PESCI is literally an interview that they provide to people who want to work as general practitioners, as GPs here. But because it is such a generalized it's an interview that it's run by a particular body. So everybody that was working the GP pathway that is an IMG has to do PESCI, has to be interviewed in the PESCI format. So that's if you want to go directly into GP. If you've gotten your general rate from the hospital system, after the hospital and you want to go into GP, then you can just get a job in the GP system. And then even in the GP system, you have to get on a training pathway to become a GP consultant. They don't allow people to stay at MO level. You always have to keep getting trained. So the GP pathway is different. If anyone wants to know about that, you can ask me specifically, then I can talk about it. But just to specify that the hospital pathway is one pathway, the GP pathway is another pathway. Usually they're separate. And the way they run here, they're very separate. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Ma. That makes sense. And the next question is, how do we go about registration for the exams? How do we register?
Okay, so obviously, let's start from you just finished medical school, you've not done anything. First thing you need to do is get an AMC portfolio. Basically, sign up for AMC. If you go, there's a link to the AMC website. I'm not sure if I can send it to one of the organizers if they ask me, the link to the AMC website. By the way, any information you want, AMC website is the place to get it. There have been a lot of people who've been scammed, trust me, in this process, because they've gotten information from other places. The only place you can get legit information is the AMC website. I'll send the link. It's basically amc.org.au, AU like Australia, AU. So www.amc.org.au. That's where you get all the information. But in particular, you have to get an AMC portfolio, basically an account on the AMC website. Now, before you get an AMC portfolio, I think the AMC portfolio costs about $500 and something. Excuse me, it's cold. $500 and something last I checked. To get an account on the AMC portal. Now, but the thing is that before you get an account, you have to do what they call EPIC verification. And I think that will be something a lot of us are familiar with because they do it to other countries as well. So the EPIC verification basically is you get your credentials verified by EPIC. I think EPIC is based in the US. And it's mostly done online. I can't remember. That was like $100 and something. Now, there's something I need to say here because a lot of people make this mistake. When you do your EPIC verification, you don't need to pay. You only pay the fee for EPIC. You don't pay extra because if you go to EPIC, they will say, oh, for every credential extra, you pay like $40 extra. No, you only need one credential. So when you register for EPIC, now let's go to EPIC now. You have to get an EPIC verification. To get an EPIC verification, you have to get an EPIC account. When you get an EPIC account, your first credential is complimentary. So whatever you pay as your EPIC to register for an EPIC account, I think it's about 100 and something USD. Everything I've been saying before now has been AUD, which is Australian dollars, but the EPIC account is in USD, 100 and something dollars. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think I paid about 130 something like that, USD. Your first credential is complimentary, which means that your first credential, you're not paying extra for it. People don't know this, so they go and pay. Now, the credential you should use, if you're thinking of Australia, is only one, is your final medical diploma. You know that thing they give you when you graduate that says, put your name and says you have been awarded MBBS degree, the one that you hang up on the wall. That's what they call it, final medical diploma. It's basically that your certificate. That's the only thing you should put up for AMC. You don't need to put up transcripts. You don't need to put up any other document. That's the only document they need, and it's complimentary. So don't go and pay extra, because I know people that went and paid extra to do other things. Because, and if you make the mistake of maybe verifying your transcript first, you will pay extra, because what AMC needs is your final medical diploma. But if you are smart, you just put it up as your only document. It's complimentary. You don't pay extra. I don't know if that makes sense. So that's what you need to do first. Epic verification, get an Epic account, verify it, verify your final medical diploma, and then open an AMC account. And then when you open an AMC account, then you can schedule exams. That's what you need to do. And then scheduling exam means you are scheduling the exams. You can write the exams anywhere. A lot of people are writing in South Africa now. A lot of people are, you can write in the UK, you can write in South Africa. Those are the two places close to Nigeria that you can write. A lot of people are writing in South Africa. And then, so when you've gotten your AMC portfolio complete, then you can write in South Africa. When you are doing your EPIC, they'll ask you where do you want to send it to, put the AMC as the place you want to send it to. So that once it's verified by EPIC, automatically EPIC sends it to AMC, and AMC just uploads it, and your AMC portfolio is complete. You can open an AMC portfolio without EPIC. The thing is that they will tell you, we are waiting your final medical diploma, so you can't register for an exam. So if you want to open it, that's fine, but you can't do anything with it. You just open it, you spend the money. So why don't you do the EPIC, put AMC? So when you've registered for the EPIC, then you open your AMC portfolio, because EPIC needs a place to send it to, and if you've got a portfolio, they send it to them, and then you, once EPIC has verified, they automatically send to AMC, and you've got your portfolio set up. Then you can schedule your exams. You also get an AMC. First. You also, sorry, excuse me. You also get your portfolio is what they'll send your results there. You can schedule your MCQ and your OSCE exam later. But it's pretty much you will also now get a specific AMC number. That's what I was trying to remember. Yeah, you get a specific AMC number which you pretty much use throughout. Yeah, so that's the process of registering. That's what you mean by registering. That's what I just explained.
Okay, thank you, Ma. The next question is, can we write the exams while we're still medical students? Can we write as students?
No, I just said that you need your final medical diploma to verify by EPIC. Your final medical diploma is only given to you when you graduate from medical school. It's the document you are given at your convocation. That document that's got your names. I don't. If I have mine, I don't have mine close by, but let me see if I do, so that you know what I mean. Not your transcript. It's not your transcript. It's not any other. It is that document that says, that people hang up in their house, that says MBBS something. I can't remember what it says, but I'll show you what the one from Luth, my own, looks like. MBBS. So I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. This is the only thing you need to put. This is from University of Lagos. If you look closely, you see it up there, University of Lagos. So that's the only thing you need to verify. And that is only given to you when you graduate. So you can't do it as a medical student.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. Then the next question is, how much is everything? The exams are moving. Like, how much will it cost?
When people ask me this question, I laugh. The reason why I laugh is, let me check. There's a message I got from someone, the person summarized, someone that just passed and started working. She's a Nigerian, and she sort of summarized it as well. But the thing is, the reason why I smile is that it depends on a lot of things. The reason why I said it depends on a lot of things is the exams, the fees for the exams are the fees for the exams. In fact, I'll just open that and check for you now. The fees for the exams are there. But then there are the fees for traveling to write the exams. Hotel. If you have family wherever you're going to write it, that's great. Visa. When you get a job, you have to apply for a visa. Usually the hospital you work at will sponsor your visa. They're employing you, they'll give you a visa, but you have to pay for it. Sponsor means they are just the ones responsible for you coming. but you have to pay for the visa. So it varies. It varies so massively that give me a second. Let me just open AMC website and see what the exams cost, the cost of the exams are now. But as for the total cost, it depends on where you're going to write it. Think of where to write the exams, whether you're going to write the two of them first. But if you're writing the second one, you have to come to Australia because you can only write it in Australia. But the first one, you can write it in other countries in the world. South Africa is one, and I think the UK. I think the ones that are closest to Nigeria. So the reason why it's very, very hard for me to answer that question. Give me a second. Let me just check for the exact cost now. So, okay, let me just tell you a bit of cost. This is from AMC's website. To establish an AMC portfolio now is 600 AUD, 600 Australian dollars. If you want to add additional qualifications, 100 Australian dollars. So my advice is don't make the mistake of doing the document you should do with EPIC is your final medical diploma. Because if you start trying to, you do something else, you will pay more money because they need that particular final medical diploma. And it's complimentary if you do it for the first time on EPIC. That's if you've never used EPIC before. If you've used EPIC for something else, you'll pay extra because like maybe you've done it for the UK or the US. I'm not sure if they do it for the UK. But if you've used EPIC before, you have to pay extra for Australian pathway. So the MCQ exam is 2,920 Australian dollars. Then the clinical exam, you can either write it as online or in person. The in person is 3,730 and the online is 4,130. And if you want to do the DVA, is 1,000 Australian dollars. That's just for the exams. If you are thinking of doing courses as well, that ranges. For the first exam, you can find courses maybe from about 1,500 Australian dollars to 3,000 Australian dollars. If you want to do courses. For the second exam, the courses are really way more expensive, and you can get as high as almost 5,000, 6,000 Australian dollars as courses. But you don't need courses to pass. There are many people who did not do courses and have passed these exams. So, if I want to give you a round figure for both exams, at least roughly 7,000 for both exams, Australian dollars. Then if you think of, traveling, visa and everything, add another 5,000 Australian dollars. This is just, so 12,000 Australian dollars approximately, give or take. This is not a fixed fee. This is just like, I'm thinking even worst case scenario. That's about what you spend. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of investment. It's not like the UK where it's way cheaper. That's why a lot of people just, go to the UK, write PLAB, and then they want to come. And I'll tell you about how to do that if that's what you're thinking of. But yeah, so it's a bit of an investment. But in terms of remuneration, you make that money back. Like, don't even think about it. You'll be fine. When you come and start practicing here, Australia doesn't pay rubbish money. Let's just keep it at that. They don't pay rubbish money at all. They pay very well. So you make that money back. So that's the only consolation I tell people, like, you make the money back. You make the money back. If you borrow the money, you give people their money back. Within 3-4 months of working here, you easily give them their monies back. That's for the Australia pathway. If you want to go through the UK pathway, you write PLAB. You have to write PLAB 1 and 2, and you have to have worked for 1 year and have full registration in the UK before you can apply to come and work in Australia. That way, you don't need to write any exams in Australia. You come through something called the Competent Authority pathway. By the way, just as I mentioned, the pathway we've been talking about all this while is called the standard pathway. That's the one of writing exams. But if you come from the UK, the US or Canada, you just need to apply, and you come through what they call the Competent Authority pathway and work for 1 year supervised, and then you can get your full registration here as well. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. The next question is, if there are other qualifications you need aside the exam that will increase your chances of getting the residency program?
Like I said before, when you get your general registration, there are requirements by the college. The college that is the college of the training you want to do. So if it's OBG, there is a college for OBG. If it is psych, there is a college for psych. If it is medicine, there's a college for medicine. If it's surgery, there's a college for surgery. So they would have their requirements. Say, okay, you have to have maybe done so rotation through so. That's the only thing you need to do. When you mean qualification, you mean like masters? No, they don't count in terms of your training. It doesn't count. Does it count in terms of getting a job? Yes. If you've done a lot of, if you apply for a job in obstetrics and gynecology, and you've done, like, you've published papers in obstetrics and gynecology, you've gone for a lot of seminars, you've been part of a lot of seminars in obstetrics and gynecology. Obviously, if you're applying to get a job as an OBGYN, you will obviously be selected over other people. But does it help on the training pathway? No. So see the thing, it helps you get in a job. Now, I need to say this. For your 12 months of supervised practice when you come here, you have to do core rotations. And those core rotations are ED, emergency department, general medicine, and surgery, before you think of going anywhere. So even if you're interested in O&G, you have to do those 3 rotations supervised. Then you can move on to whatever you want to do in particular. So if you come here and you get a job as OBGYN or psych or pediatrics, and you do not have ED, general medicine, and surgery, you wouldn't get your general registration. So my advice always is get those ones first. Then you can go into what you like to do, and then you can get jobs in them. And when I mean going, so you get jobs in those fields. So you can apply, you can work in this hospital today. After general reg, then you decide, okay, I want to move to the other states. This particular hospital, they are very good at maybe OBGYN. There's a particular prestigious person, you can go work there. That's what people tend to do, move around. Usually most people do not, except the hospital you are in has everything you want, meaning they have the training you want, and you can get on, meaning you get the job. Most people tend to move around a lot in terms of get on their training pathway.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. The next question is, what is the likelihood of getting a residency in surgery as an immigrant? Are there like some biases?
There's competition for everything everywhere in the world. What do you mean by biases? Maybe I should ask the person, if the person can say, what exactly do you mean by bias? That's what I need to understand, what you mean by bias, so I can answer your question appropriately.
Okay, the person that asked this question is Bethel. Bethel, are you still on the call so you can clarify? Okay, I don't think Bethel.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, sorry, I've been trying to unmute. In the US, they favor their medical graduates, like graduates in-house, like American medical graduates, above international medical graduates. So I want to know if it's the same way in Australia. Did they actually favor the graduates from Australia ahead of international medical graduates for surgical residency positions?
Okay, I needed to understand that, because I was thinking when I heard bias, I thought you meant racial bias. Okay, so good. So I would say this to you. In Nigeria, we favor Nigerian graduates over foreign trained graduates. Yes or no? Yes, we do. Every country has that. You can't take that away. And it's not unfair. If you think about it, it's not unfair. It's not unfair. Why? These people trained here, they have spent money on their medical school. Do you get? And the way they pay medical school here without scholarships is very expensive. They spend so much money in their medical schools and everything. Of course, they'll give them preference. And most of them have already, they're used to the system. They've already maybe been working on projects. They've been working with like consultants who are in the field, working on like publications and everything. So that's why they have an edge. Is it possible to get on? Yes. I am a very big believer of nothing is impossible. You can get it. Do they favor their people? Yes, they do. And it's expected. I don't expect them not to favor their people because they're trained there. It's just normal. It's the same thing that happens in Nigeria. I remember even when I was doing a house job, the people that trained in Nigeria, first of all, the MDCN exams are so annoying. for people that train outside Nigeria, that's already the first one. Then coming getting in before you get a job, even as a foreign trained doctor in Nigeria, it's hard. We all ask the MDCN people, anyone that that trained outside of Nigeria that came back. So it's normal. They will favor their own people. Does that mean you can't get on? No, it does not mean so. Because the truth is, on an average in a medical school here, they have maybe 50 doctors that graduate. Like that's their average number of doctors that would graduate. So there are not that many. Do they still have spaces? Yes, they do. Because, like I said, Australia is very multicultural. There's a lot of migration happening into Australia. A lot of people are moving into Australia, meaning they need more doctors. So are there sports? Yes, they are. Are they competitive? Yes, they are. Do they favor their people? Yes, they are. And it's expected. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. But you can get on. Like, that's what I don't believe it's a barrier. I feel like one of the things you should do if you ever come to Australia, that's something you want to do, is understand their system, understand their people, understand how they work, and get yourself ingrained in it. Like, don't form, oh, I'm an IMG, I'm not interested. I am. You see me at work, you sometimes wonder that did this girl forget she's an IMG or she's African? I don't reckon with those things because I know that if I continue alienating myself and only relating with IMG doctors, I'm not helping myself. You know what I mean? So can you guess in? Yes. And there's a lot of who you know. Once you are in the system, I realized you're moving up is who you know. So if you are very smart, you will befriend all the consultants and professors. They will get you in, don't worry. That's one thing I realized about this country. If you know how to get into, like, be friends with the people that are in power, in terms of people that make decisions, you will get most of the things you want.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. I think this is the last question. This person wants to know if it's better or which you recommend, going straight from Nigeria or using a different pathway, like the UK pathway, to go to Australia.
It's up to you. I know someone who did not even bother with the UK. She's a colleague of mine. We actually finished in medical school together, and she's now in Australia now. She came late last year. And when she started talking about, I was here, when she started talking about, people were telling her, don't do this. She was working as an MO in anesthesia and Lutz, and they told her not to do this and everything. And now she's here practicing. She came directly. She did not even go any other path. It cost a lot of money, but she came directly. So it's up to you. It's up to you in many ways. Prepare for the exams. I think PLAB is a bit of a simpler exam just because, a lot more people write it. There are a lot more advice about the exams and all that. So, and it's cheaper, very important. So a lot of people write PLAB. So it's really up to you. It's up to you. Are you willing to put in the efforts, the tenacity? Tenacity, because sometimes it's the one exam that people will ask you, are you okay? Why are you even bothering? In fact, I was laughing when I joined this, excuse me.
Sorry.
I was laughing when I joined the live. A lot of people are leaving Australia, I beg. Who asked that for this? Because people are like, why would you do this? Why would you even try this? Why would you? You really have to want to come here, if that's what I was saying. If you're a medical student, I will tell you what she did, though, that worked for her. When we do, what's that thing called? Electives. She came to Australia for electives. So that's what she did. That really was a good thing. So I think from there, when she came for electives and she saw the way they practice medicine here, she was like, no, I want to come here. So from when she was a medical student, she came here for electives. She, when they did the elective session. So, that 4 weeks, I think, I can't remember. But the elective, she came to Australia. And then, other people went to UK, most other places, but she came here. And then since then, she wanted to come here. So that helped her. So when she was applying, she was telling them, hey, I've been here before when I was this medical student. So if you're thinking, oh, I want to come to Australia, but I'm still a medical student, the way to come is to come for an elective, see how the system is, make friends. Excuse me. When you come here, make friends, make contact with the consultants, and people here, so that when you go back and you're planning, you can be in contact with them. If you understand.
Okay, yes, we do, ma. Thank you so much. Then this person wants to know when we're going to write IELTS, or if you require IELTS.
So you require, so you can write IELTS, you can write PT, and you can write OET. You don't have to write only IELTS. It can be any of the three of them. You can even write TOEFL. TOEFL is, they count TOEFL. TOEFL is the one that you write when you go to the US. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so TOEFL is the one you write to the US. You can write IELTS, you can write PT, you can write OET. Any of them is accepted. You don't need it to get it. You don't need it to write the exams. No, you don't. You need it to register you need to get your general your registration as a doctor. So the body that registers people in Australia is called APRA, Australian Health Practitioners Regulation Agency. You need English to register as a doctor. You do not need English to write the exam. You do not need English. Yeah, you don't need English to write the exams. You can write the exams without doing English. So what I tell people, because the process can sometimes take a while, is don't write your English now. Write your English after you pass your AMC1. That's the MCQ. And then, you're applying for jobs. So write your English then, so that English is fresh. Because what I did was I wrote IELTS. My IELTS expired before I came to Australia. And before I wrote my exams. So I had to write OET again after I passed it. So don't waste your time writing English now. That's my advice. If you're thinking Australia, focus on your AMC1. When you've passed your MC1, then you write your English. And you can write IELTS, OET, or PT. You need it for your registration, basically. After you get the job. You also need it. Some people, some hospitals want it to know that you have it, because they know that if they give you a job and you don't have English, you have to start thinking of how to pass English. So my advice is, as soon as you pass AMC1, write your English. Or maybe you're writing AMC1 in November, write your English maybe September, August, so that, I think it's 2 years English is, or a year, so that at least by the time you pass, the plan is for you to pass when you write in November, you would have it valid. Because a lot of people now, they pass their MC and maybe the English is expiring next month. They're like, oh my God, I have to get a job before next month, or otherwise I have to write another English. So that's the thing. But you don't need it to write the exam if that's what you want to know.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. This session has been insightful. We're really grateful. And I think that is the last question. If you have anything to tell us, we're willing to hear. We're ready to hear any other thing you have to say before you leave.
Like what?
Okay, if you have any
I think in I think in summary, the Australian pathway is an expensive pathway. It's a pathway that you don't regret it eventually when you get in and start working. No, trust me. I don't regret it. I'm talking to someone who is not even a Nigerian, who came from the UK to Australia, and he was telling me that he's not going back to the UK, or that the amount of money he earns and the lifestyle he's living here is way better. And that's something you need to know. I feel like Australia is one of those, at the end of the tunnel, it's sweet. The pathway is very, very, it's one of those pathways that there are not a lot of people on, so you won't have a lot of that kind of support that you have when you have PLAB. And it is expensive, but it is worth it at the end of the day. If you want to go the UK route, that's fine. Just know that you have to have gotten your full registration and worked for at least a year in the UK before you can come through the competent authority pathway. So Australia is a great place to come to, but it's an investment. I will encourage people to come because I want more people here. It's lonely. I think I'm the only Nigerian. No, there are two of us, Nigerian female doctors. There is no male. There's no Nigerian male in my hospital. There's only two of us Nigerian female doctors and no Nigerian male. In fact, I think we're the only two Africans. We're the only two African female doctors. There is one other consultant who is a female, but she's Kenyan, I think. But so we need more people here. And there is a huge demand for doctors right now. There's a lot of people coming in. The population is increasing. and they really do want doctors. So it's a place where there are a lot of opportunities. And if you are happy to go rural, which is fine, by the way, it's cool. If you're happy to go rural, there are way more benefits, they pay way more money and all that. Yeah, so I guess all the best as you pick whichever pathway you're going to go on.
Okay, thank you so much, ma. We're really grateful for this. We're so grateful.
Sure. Sorry for coming late again.
Okay, no problem, ma. Okay, so we'll be introducing the second speaker. The second moderator will be taking over. That's Clinton. Clinton, please, can you take over?
All right. Thank you very much. So we're already running a bit over time. So without much loss of time, well, I'm gonna briefly introduce the next speaker. The next speaker is Dr. Weng B. Mark. So his presentation is going to be for 25 minutes. After that, we're going to do another Q&A and then close the meeting. So Dr. Wemby Mark is an internal medicine fellow at Goulburn Valley Health. He attained his medical degree in the University of Jos, Nigeria. He also attained his primary fellowship in internal medicine in the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria. He has gotten certificates in pediatric advanced life support at Advanced Pediatrics Life Support. And also, he has a certificate in professional business writing and communication skills from Hastings Business Training Limited. During his free time, Dr. Mark loves to volunteer as an emergency doctor volunteer, providing care for vulnerable victims at IDP camps, that's camps for internally displaced persons. He has done a research project on the prevalence of substance abuse amongst people living with HIV/AIDS at the University of Jos. So let's bring Dr. Mark to the floor. Dr. Mark, please, you have the floor now for the next 25 minutes. Thank you very much.
All right. Hi, guys. Good morning from Australia.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for having me today. My name is Wang. You can just simply call me Wang. Wang is fine with me. And also thank you for the privilege to speak with you guys. It's also very impressive that you're organizing this session for students to want to know more about coming to Australia. Australia is a very great place to come. It's a very good place to come. So basically we have different pathways to come into Australia, right? So we have the standard pathway, we have the specialist pathway, which is what I'm more conversant about. Now with the standard pathway, it involves you writing the AMC exam. So the AMC exams has two parts of it. We have the AMC1 and the AMC2, right? Now the AMC1, you can write that anywhere outside Nigeria. Unfortunately, we don't have a center in Nigeria. I had to write mine in India. That was in just before the peak of COVID. I remember struggling to catch a flight back away from India because that was when COVID started in March 2020. So so you get you write your AMC exams, the AMC1, and then you don't need any English exams for these any English scoring tests for these exams. So what you just simply do is to get registered with ECFMG. So ECFMG is the body that verify your certificate as a doctor from Nigeria or from any other part of the world. So when you go into these first world countries, Canada, UK, Australia, US, and all that, you have to get verified by ECFMG. So you get verified by ECFMG, and you request for ECFMG to send your verified certificate to AMC. So alongside you, what you're doing is you're registering for the AMC. You're registering yourself on that AMC website. So as soon as your ECFMG gets verified, they text the result or they fax the result to EFC and say, yes, this guy is it's a doctor, she's a doctor from Nigeria. I can verify that she graduated so yeah. Can you please accept her? So as soon as they accept you, AMC confirms to you that you've been accepted, that you're a doctor. And so by that, it means that you're very much, well, I say you're very much qualified to sit for the AMC exams. So the thing is that, yes, the AMC exams can be quite very financially tasking. Yeah, I know it can be financially tasking coming over, but by and large, it's a very good place to be, because it's an investment that you don't want to miss out on. There are so many good things about Australia, right? So that's by the way, but it's very important. I just said I should chip that in. So you get to write your exams, you book for an exam venue, which is not, you're not under stress, you're not under duress. And once you've booked for the exam venue, and then you start preparation for the exams. Basically 3 to 4 months will be okay, or will suffice to prepare for these exams. So 3 months of good intense study will help you to sit for the exams. And the thing is that, yes, it's an expensive exam. You have to do so many things. You have to seek for visa to travel out of your country. You would have to book a flight away from Nigeria just to sit for the part one. But believe me, coming over to Australia has been a very great blessing to me. I like it. I cherish it. And now the thing is that, so you've written your exam, EMC1. You go ahead, try to sit for an English exam as soon as possible. You get that sorted, and you don't need all the 7.5 band to get into or to get your registration or to get a job. So 7 across board is okay. All right, 7 across board is okay. 7.0. So then you start applying for jobs. Now, yes, I understand some people find it very difficult to get a job. But the good thing is that if you have what we call recency of practice, that means that you are still working in your country. It helps you a long way securing a job. So the issue I have with some persons here is that their recency of practice is not updated. So it could be very difficult trying to recommend, because not even the hospital might want to accept you, but you might find it very difficult to get get your registration or your limited registration from APRA. So now with your English exam, with your EMC1, you're qualified to get a job in Australia, anywhere in Australia, right? But you're going to be under a limited registration. What you earn, you get paid. Well, money can do most of the things you can do for yourself. Get your basics, rent your house, buy a car, do anything you want to do with the money. Get to send money home if you want to. And yeah, so, and then alongside you start preparing for the AMC2, or if you don't want to get the AMC2, you can. What people do, what Nigerians, I have a lot of Nigerians in my hospital. In fact, my hospital is a very receptive hospital to Nigerians. Femi is here with me. Femi is here with me. He's a physician in the department. So 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 what I'm trying to say in essence is that it might be very difficult, might be very tasking, but I mean, it's a very good investment you can make for yourself. Now, what people do is get the AMC1, get the English exam, try to secure a job. The job, you can get the job if you get the recency of practice. That's number one. Number two, it works sometimes based on recommendation. Sometimes I'm not going to say anything abnormal, but sometimes you need 1 or 2 persons to just stick a neck for you and say, okay, yes, I think I know this guy is a good fellow. He's a good doctor from Nigeria. You've had a lot of good things about him. And the medical force will ask you, are you sure? Are you sure you've worked with him? You think he can work as you do? And yeah, I think he can do some good works like the way I'm working, and then easily to get you accepted, give you a job offer, and then you start processing all your papers. Now, also suffice to know that if you don't want to do the EMC2 exam, you can do you can do the PLAB examination. So sometimes what I used to tell people is that um just do the AMC exam if you can, if you have the knowledge, if you have the means. um it's also feasible, because if you've written your English examinations for anything, you can also just register for the PLAB examination and then get that sorted. But if you can do the PLAB 1, do the PLAB 2, because sometimes they say that the AMC is very difficult, which I agree to that. Yeah, it's difficult to pass. It's not an exam that's it's difficult for you guys. It's just difficult to pass. The subjectiveness of the exam is on its own level. It's very subjective. It's not a very objective exam, I'll say personally. So I do encourage people, yeah, you can do the PLAB 1, PLAB 2, and then you can be accepted. Like you can, if you apply for general registration with the PLAB 2, you can be accepted to gaining a general registration. So after your EMC1, EMC2, EMC1 English exam, qualify for limited registration, apply for job anywhere in Queensland, in Victoria, in New South Wales, in Southern Australia, Western Australia, and all that. You get a job, the hospital sponsors your visa. Sometimes the hospital might pay for your ticket coming over to Australia, and then all of those expenses you can easily claim them from tax and all that, and you have a good money to live life with, and also do some other things with the money. So this is my little sense. Then with the competent authority, what people do, I have a lot of friends, two or three friends coming from UK. What they did was they wrote PLAB 1, wrote PLAB 2, work for NHS for 1 year, and then come over to Australia. In that regard, I understand that it might be very difficult. It might be very financially difficult. I mean, coming from Nigeria directly from coming to Australia directly from Nigeria, it might be financially difficult. Sometimes while I was doing the whole process, I regretted, like, if I had known, I probably should have just gone to UK before coming over to Australia. But I mean, yeah, it can be financially difficult, but if you have the means, if you have the finances, it's a very good investment. You can come and get into the system, blend into the system, and start living your life. Now, the challenging thing is that, yeah, there are not a lot of black doctors here, but my hospital is a very multicultural hospital. I work in the regional part of Victoria. It's a very multicultural hospital that have lots of people. I've seen Kenyans, I've seen Ghanaians, Nigerians are there a lot more. Indians, Sri Lankans, and all that they are there in the hospital. What I'll also say is that um yeah, so for you guys now, I think the standard pathway is something you can look to explore. It's a very good pathway. It's easy. You don't work on that. You're not doing anything under pressure. You're just doing your thing easy, trying to secure your exam score, try to register for ECFMG. And the good thing is that if you register for ECFMG, if you say you're no longer interested in um Australia, you can still use it as well. Go to the UK, go to the US, and all that. And if you're certified as a specialist, you want to come over to Australia easily, you can come over to Australia. Now, another pathway which I want Nigerians to be exploring is the specialist pathway. The specialist pathway has to do with the specialists that have qualified fellowship in Nigeria. So what they do, they apply for they apply to the college, that's the Royal Australian College of Physicians, and they go through their certificate, go through their training, and certify if they think they can gain in fellowship. Might be very tricky, might be very difficult, but for physicians, I think it's for those that have trained as physicians in Nigeria, I think it's a pathway that they might want to consider exploring, because the boss I have here, a Nigerian, who encouraged me to come to Australia, came in through that pathway. But the most you can do is to be a general physician. Yeah, to be a general physician. But I think that's something that Nigerians should look to explore. And coming over to Australia, you can do anything you want to do for yourself, specialist wise. It's easy to do a GP. It's very easy. It's straightforward to do GP. It's, I would say, straightforward to do internal medicine, of course, which is what I am at the moment, which is what I'm doing at the moment. I'm a gen med registrar, so it's easy to get into general medicine training. I would say it's also easy to do psychiatry. It's not too difficult, but yeah, you can do psychiatry. What else? These are the two specialties or few specialties that you can blend into easily. Surgery might be very tricky because I've met a whole lot of Indians and other people from other background have given their own verdict about how difficult it is to get into surgery training. It might be very tricky. You might find it very difficult at the end of the day getting into surgery. Other specialties are quite I would say easy to get into. Right. These are my little cents. Thank you. You have any question?
Okay, anyone that has any questions, feel free to drop it on the chat. So
Okay. So for the competent pathway, what's the likelihood of success in the sense that
okay.
No.
Okay.
I just saw the first question from
Okay, yeah, the
Sue.
first question I think is from Geraldine.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. The question is, can a medical student do the ECFMD verification?
Oh no. Unfortunately, no. Well, I'm not sure. But I think yes, because if you want to sit for USMLE, you have to go through this process just to confirm that you're a medical trainee or you're a medical student. Yes, I think you can do that. And but for the verified process to verify your certificate, I think you should have graduated as a medical doctor, right?
Okay, thank you very much. So, okay, there is another one that we missed before, from Pasiola. The question says, for the competent pathway, what's the likelihood of success? In the sense that, is it anyone that applies that gets admitted into Australia, or is there like a criteria for selection?
No, it's not a criteria. In fact, at the moment, I have a Nigerian that just came into my hospital through the competent pathway. Like the hospital is asking him if he has some other doctors that want to come in from UK. And he said, unfortunately, I don't have any, but it's easy to get into because they know that you're coming from UK, you've had experience in UK, which is somewhat similar to what we have in Australia here. So it's very easy to it's very easy. I would say it's very easy, and they like it if you have been if you've got that experience in UK coming over to Australia, they like it a lot. So I mean it's easy.
Okay,
It's
thank
easy
you very
compared
much.
to it's easy compared to.
All right, that's very clear. Okay, the next question is, Is housemanship compulsory in Nigeria before getting accepted in Australia?
Yes, yes. So it's a must. It's not on paper, but it's a must. If you're coming under the standard pathway, it's a must that you should have your housemanship done and have few experience, like a year or two experience in home country before you attempt to. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So the next question is from Justice. Justice says, after passing AMC1, how long will it take to
Yes.
get a job? And what does getting a job involve?
Okay. It everyone has different stories. Like, okay, like when I wrote my exam, COVID started and everywhere was locked. So that was out of the normal. So now it depends. Like, it depends. Sometimes what I say is that just write the exams, have a chat with few people, um, Nigerians that you know that in the country practicing. Few persons might refer you to hospitals that they know that will take you. Um, it it's it's very easy. You can have a job without anything, without any stress or any challenge, but it's a lot more easier when you deal with recommendations. That's what I would say personally. It's a lot more easier when you deal with recommendations because um people leave you so much, especially if you've worked hard seriously for them. They tend to believe you a lot. They tend to believe you a lot. And like, doctor, can this candidate offer what you're offering to us? They say, yes, he can. And you're sure? And they say, yes. It's easy. Like, it's easy. Yeah. Um, it's easy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
The next question says, can they fully recognize your specialist qualifications from your country and give you full license to practice as a doctor in your specialty? For example, if you
No,
want to go for nephrology in Australia.
no. So the thing is that, look, these countries, these countries, um, they work. I would say they are super specialized. Now, I'm not trying to look down our training in Nigeria. Of course, we are doing a lot in our own regard. Our training is good, but while you're filling the form, or while you're filling the form for specialist pathway, um, there are list of criteria they will put in there. I have someone that just approved his specialty from India. He trained as a cardiologist in India, but now, have you done an angiogram? Have you inserted a pacemaker? Now, these questions are there. Take, for instance, these questions are there, there for you to feel. And you yourself, like, you go through the questions, like, I've not done this, I've not done that, I've not. It's you yourself, you personally probably might fail yourself. I'll say, no, probably might not get qualified with this. What you just do is to go through the gen med registration, like the gen med consultant. So as a gen med consultant, you are just within a general medicine. So you see patients that have general medical conditions. So but for the super micro specialties, it's a no-go. It's almost mission impossible. I would say it's almost impossible to get into the micro specialty directly from Nigeria, because not because our training is not good, but because our training lack those nitty-gritties about the macro specialty that makes it a micro specialty. Like cardiology, for instance, the angiogram, the pacemaker, and all those nitty-gritty things that you should do as a cardiologist, or cardiac physician. It's not there, so the hospital will not accept you. The ones that I think that I have had few cases outside of general medicine, that my psychiatry, I think I've seen someone, a psychiatrist trained in Nigeria, and he came in through a specialist pathway. He's doing very better for himself. He's doing very good for himself. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. This one is a side question based on the same question again. Like for a specialist that's applying through other pathways, those being like a specialist, can it increase your chances?
I don't understand you. Sorry.
Like a specialist applying through another pathway, like the competent pathway, can the
Oh,
fact
okay.
that a specialist bolster your chances against other
Yeah,
applicants?
100%, 100%.
Okay.
100%. So yeah, so what people do again, thank you for the question. It's very insightful. So what people do again is to like go into the specialty, so write the AMC examination, I get the AMC one examination, get the English examination, find a job, secure a job, coming through as a if possible, probably a specialist in medicine, you apply for med-reg jobs, you can't get med-reg jobs, you can, it's, yeah, especially in regional areas, you can get med-reg job directly from Nigeria if you're a specialist. And then when you come in, then you apply for the specialist pathway through the specialist pathway through the application process. Yeah, that's what they do. Like you come in through, write your AMC1, AMC2, come in as a med-reg, and then do like practice for a few years, and then like get the registration done and apply to the board, and the board go through your application and see if you're feasible to come in, and then yeah, they interview you, and then you come in, you start your peer review. They call it peer review. You be attached to a doctor, a specialist that will just do like follow you up, like a mentorship, follow you up. You write papers, you do presentations, and then after 2 years, you just like, yeah, this guy, I think this guy is fit to be a physician here. He writes to the college, and the college approves it and say, okay, yeah, that's all.
Okay, all right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. There's another question from Unduka. He said,
Yeah.
I will digress from the pathway question. His question is, what's racial discrimination like in Australia?
Hmm. Well, it's that question can be very personal. Well, it is what it is everywhere with these countries, to be honest with you. It is what it is everywhere. But the good thing is that if you know what you're doing, you're very confident of yourself. You're very, very confident of yourself. You know what you're doing. You know when to call for help. They respect you for that. And when they respect you for that, they might be racial, but they know that you know your stuff. They give you a chance. Racism is everywhere, I would say. But if you know what you are doing, you've proved to them that you've done medicine, just forget about it. Just forget about it. You might not speak like them. Be very open, speak the way you want to speak. But if they know what you're doing, you're a very smart guy, you're doing your job the way you should do your job, they won't be, they will be all around you. Right? Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, the person that dropped that first question on the specialist pathway, person also said, still on, I think you have touched on this a bit, but maybe they want more clarity. He said, still on the specialist pathway, what if you
Yes.
got your specialty training in a first world country? Is there any chance of the
That's
specialty being fully recognized?
100%. 100%. So,
Okay.
just last week, I was in Melbourne, and I had a chat with the plastic surgeon. He did his training in Texas. He's a Ghanaian, and he came in from Texas to Australia, and the whole process just took 4 months or 3 months. So it's just so first world to first world is just accept. From UK, you're coming to Canada. From Australia, you're going to Canada. or from UK you're coming to Australia, it's like it's easy. It's very easy. If you're in UK, you want to come to Australia, it's very easy to get into the system. Okay. All good?
Sorry guys, I didn't know I was muted. I just forgot for a minute there. Okay.
That's all right, Norris.
Yeah. So the next question is how do we get this from Justice? Justice says, how do we get materials for the exams and what are the costs?
Okay. So for the exam, well, when I was preparing for the exam, I used Amidex. So Amidex is it's an app. It's an app just like you have Tables. It's an app, and very importantly, if you want to write the exam, when you ready to sit for the exam, just ask around or just let me know. There is a secret group on Facebook. It's called Amidex, and a whole lot of questions are there, question banks, and people who finish their exams coming to drop um ask questions or feedback. So the feedback, I think it's very important for the exams. Um, Unfortunately, I'm not there at the moment because they kicked me out. Found out I've got a job in Australia, so I was kicked out of the forum. But I have a few friends who are still there. If you want to get into write the exams, just let me know. I have a few friends in there. They can add you up to the group and you can write it. It's a very good platform. But other than that, we have also Amidex. I think it's online. It's on app stores and play stores. It's an app just like Paddles, and you have everything. They give you good reviews. That was when I wrote my examination. I'm not too sure of what is involved now. But then 2019, 2020, I think Amidex was very, very good. Very, very good.
Okay, thank you very much. So someone else is asking, Joshua is asking, um, what life in Australia is like, living as a doctor, their wildlife, etc.
Okay. Living as a doctor in Australia is fun. Like you're well paid. Um, you're well paid. You're just on your own. Houses are very big. Wildlife here and there. You can pick up your car and travel to any city you want to travel to. So the train system doesn't work very effective here as what you find in UK, but wildlife is very good as well, but we don't have a lot of animals here. We have very beautiful pets here. Um, Kangaroos are here as well. Unfortunately, where I am, I don't see a lot of kangaroos here. But yeah, when I drive, you just see them in the bushes fighting themselves for whatever reason. I don't know. But we don't have a lot of wildlife here. But kangaroos, we have few zoos here and there. Not too far from a zoo in Cobram or Cabram. But it's a very beautiful place, very quiet, very peaceful, no gun problems. It's a very great place to raise your kids. Once you've gotten your PR, life becomes very soft for you. If you're working in a hospital, if you're very lucky to work in a hospital that sponsor you to get a PR, um, they can sponsor you to get a PR with your dedication. If they see you're very dedicated, you want to remain in the hospital for a couple of years, they can sponsor you for a PR. And then after 6 months or 1 year, you feel like you want to leave the hospital, you want to go somewhere else, you can leave the hospital. It depends on what you want to do, though. But after general registration, life becomes a lot more fun for you. You get to go for local jobs in different states. They pay your flight ticket, they pay your hotel allowances, they pay for the hotel if you're coming. If you tell them you're coming with your family, they can pay for the hotel rooms, hotel room of three, they can pay everything and pay pay for your flight sometimes, and whatever you want to. Like it's just easy, just easy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm gonna ask two questions. They are similar, so I'm just gonna ask both of them together.
Okay,
The
okay.
first one is from Sylvester. How is surgery residency like in Australia? Can one easily get in? And Henry says, are the chances of getting a surgery specialty in Australia easier compared to the US, or is it harder?
I have a
Yeah.
doctor. Yeah, I have a doctor, Dr. Kunle. I didn't meet him, but I heard a lot of stories about this guy. Um, it's is a hepatobiliary surgeon in St. Vincent. He's a nice guy. Now he struggled a lot with them, the racial thing and all that. Yes, but if someone is good, he's good. If he keeps persisting and you're seeing that this guy is good, he wants to persist, he doesn't want to let go, sometimes they succumb. Compared to the years, personally, I would say personally, not what is objective or what is objective. Personally, subjective to me, I would say it's a lot easier getting specialty training in surgery in the US compared to Australia, I would say personally, because I've not seen a whole lot of people who go into the specialty. Like, I have few Indians, few friends from Caribbeans. I wouldn't call them friends. They're like mentors. And they tried to get into the training for donkeys. It's difficult. Now, I'm not trying to discourage anyone. If your zeal, if you can persist, just like I keep saying, you can do anything. You can be anything you want to do. Yeah, you can do anything you want to do with yourself and with your life. If you want to be persistent, if you want to be dogged, if you want to fight, and you are good, someday you get into the training. Now, for surgery, you have to be postgraduate year 5 or so before you get into the real nitty-gritty of the training. So what I mean by that is that you should have worked, okay, worked. Your first year here is PGY. You come in as PGY 2. So PGY 1 is the intern. PGY 1, they are the interns, and PGY 2, you come in as HMO. So you work PGY 1, PGY 2, PGY 3, PGY 4, PGY 5, and and then you can be accepted to get into a surgical specialty. Now, even at that, they will require you to get a master. That is not a problem. Getting a master's is not a problem because once you become a citizen or a PR holder, it's very easy for you to go online and search for any master's degree you want to do, and then you start doing it and all that. But they require you to get a master's. They require you to get like a good postgraduate year experience. For surgical specialty. And if you want to be very persistent, if you want to fight for this thing, you can get it. But I would
Thank
say
you,
it's
answer.
easier. Yeah, it's easier to get in the US compared to Australia. I would say subjectively.
Okay. That's a great summary. So okay, the next one is from Chiazum. He says, how long does it take to get their citizenship?
4 years from the day you come into Australia. So you arrived Australia on the 4th of January 2020. You get in 4 years after you get in January 2024. You apply your once you get your PR and your PR is valid for more than 1 year. 4 years after that, you can become a citizen. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Okay. Chiazum, I don't know if you can unmute your mic and give a response on whether the answer is clear enough for you.
So what I mean basically, 4 years after arriving in the country, you can be a citizen. Okay. So but the thing is dependent on when you got your PR. Okay. So you should have been on PR for at least a year. Okay. So assuming you came to the country 4th of January 2020, and 4th of January 2024, you should be 4 years in, you should have spent 4 years in Australia, right? And then you within these 4 years, you got your PR, right? You got your PR within these 4 years, or you got your PR at least on the 4th of January 2023. Okay. Now, on the 4th of January 2024, you are eligible to be a citizen, right? Now, on that 4 years, on that 4 years mark, you should apply to be a citizen, right? Some persons it take a while. Some persons it depends on the state. Like it depends on the state. So for states like Southern Australia, Tasmania, Western Australia, it's a lot more easier to get citizenship. Yeah, it's a lot because of course the population there is less and all. But Victoria, New South Wales might be a bit tricky or difficult a bit, but it's just about waiting. It's not something difficult. It's just about waiting. Once you get your PR, you're good as gold. You can be anything. You can do anything for yourself. But yeah, it's very important to get a card. So 4 years, it's fine. Like 4 years is fine. So some people get it 4 years, 4.5 years, 5 years. I mean, it depends, right?
Okay. All right. So we have okay, Chasm said it's clear. All right. So we have 3 more questions, but okay, I'll go with this one first. Is obstetrics and gynecology under surgery? Question from
No, it's not. It's a different faculty.
Okay, and one last thing, would it be a problem if the first world country where the specialist training was gotten isn't an English-speaking country, like Germany, for example?
No. So long as you can speak, and they can verify that, yeah, you do. Like now, they'll give you a list of things. Like they'll give you a list of boxes to tick. So, and whatever country you're coming from, in the first world country, if you can tick all the boxes, and yeah, they'll invite you for an interview. And once you've passed the interview, it's easy. You just like merge it together and say, yeah, I think his training is comparable to what we have here, and they'll just admit you into the college.
All right. Okay. Someone is asking how you can be reached on the group chat and drop your email.
Okay. I think it's easier. Just it's easier to follow me on what's my Instagram, my Twitter handle, because my email sometimes can just be I'm very bad at going through emails except I'm expecting something. So you can reach me on my Twitter.
Okay. Can you drop like a username so I'll drop it in the chat?
Yeah, I'll drop it now.
Okay. All right. So someone else is also asking if you can. I remember you said that Facebook group is private, but someone is asking if you can.
Yeah, it's private.
Drop the link for the Facebook group if it's going to be possible.
It's Amedex. You probably might not see it when you search for it. It's Amedex. You might not see it when you search for it. So it's a very private group. So someone has to be in the group to accept you or to invite you into the group. You probably might not get it. So if you're ready to write the examinations, I can just speak to a few friends who are in the group. And so what you do is send them free Facebook friend requests, and they will add you into the group. Okay.
All right. Yeah. That's good. Okay. This is gonna be the last question for today.
Yes.
Okay. So Justice is asking if getting into OBGYN in Australia is it comparable to general medicine? Maybe is it harder or easier, stuff like that?
It's just um it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. Now the good thing with Australia is that you might not. It's difficult. Now the good thing is that you might not be the specialist per se. Now the GP, there's what called GP with specialist training, right? You can be a GP and do some microsurgeries like removal of moles, removal of melanoma and all those skin lesions and some of those minor surgical things. You can be a GP, work in the regional area, and you're still in doing anesthesia, like intubation and general anesthesia and all of those things. You can be a GP and be a pain medicine specialist with diploma or good certificate to show for that. So you can be a GP and do a whole lot of things. You can be a GP with good aesthetic skills. Like people cash out from this. I know a family friend that makes money a lot from this. She's a GP, but she has certificate in aesthetic medicine and she's making money from that. So that's a good thing. That's the beauty of Australia. So you can be a GP and you can still have some special interest in um what's it called? You can still have a special interest in ONG. Yeah, I have a Sierra Leonean. Is this guy a Sierra Leonean or one country? Yeah, one country in Western Africa. He's a GP, but he's a very good and very skilled ONG doctor. So because getting to the specialist training to the faculty can be very tricky for IMGs, can be very difficult for IMGs. So it can be, but we have few Nigerian consultants here and there. Yeah, here and there. ONG consultant in Latrobe and some other places I know of. But it can be tricky, but it just depends personally on your perseverance on what you want to aim to achieve, or what you want to do personally with yourself. I, I'm 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 an unaccredited medical registrar. I hope to get into medical oncology. It's difficult. Like everybody tells me it's very impossible and all that, but it's what I want to do. I'll get to the point and I'll persist. If I see that my persistence is not cannot take me there, then I opt out. But let it be that like, yeah, I've tried doing something, right? So trial is you never might no, you can't tell. So if you want to, yeah, you can. Okay. But yeah, but just so you know, it can be difficult, it can be tricky to get it, but it's something that's it's also very possible as well. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you very
Thank
much,
you. Yes.
Dr. Wang. So that's very, very comprehensive. Really
No
appreciate the way you
worries.
took your time to answer all the questions. So
No worries.
this
Thanks,
will be
guys.
the end of the program for tonight.
All
Thank
right.
you very
Hope
much.
to see you guys. Hope to see you guys in Australia. Okay. All the best.
Yeah, very soon.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've come to the end of the Australian edition of the Japa series, and um, I want to say thank you very much to all of you that attended this program, made it a success. So thank you very much. And the distinguished speakers, Dr. Tuluwani and Dr. Mark, we're sharing our thanks to them for sharing their knowledge and expertise. I'm sure all of us benefited from their presentation. So without Phil, we also like to thank our VPI Naomi for helping us to organize this event and carrying all of us along. So yeah, thank you very much to all the attendees once more. So that'll be all for today, and have a great evening, everyone. So as a reminder, feel free to contact Dr. Weng on his Twitter handle and copy it on group chat. I'm going to drop it on. I'll be dropping it on the WhatsApp group now, just in case. I'll drop a link to his profile. So thank you very much, everyone. Good night.